Hello, everyone, and welcome to another new PennyWise podcast. I'm your host, Terry Barr from Lee Enterprises. And today we have joining us from Forbes Advisor, Amy Denise. Now, Amy is a chief insurance analyst with Forbes Advisor. So we are going to get some terrific information today because I think everyone's getting anxious, Amy, to travel. Let's talk about travel insurance today and why I think we're learning, in particular, after the last year, travel insurance is so important to talk about right now. Thanks for being here, Amy. And what's right off the top? Why are we so excited to get back out there, get traveling? And why does travel insurance have to be on top of the mind right now, too?
Well, so many of us have put our vacations on hold, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are plotting their big escapes for later this year or maybe next year to finally get out of the house, go somewhere fun, maybe even leave the country. Anything's possible.
It sounds wonderful, and it almost, after the last year, sounds like, can it be true? But why
Can it
does
be true?
travel insurance have to be really part of your plans?
Well, especially for people who are planning a fabulous, expensive vacation where they're putting down a lot of money, travel insurance is important for the trip cancellation benefits. So if you're plunking down a lot of money in prepaid and non-refundable deposits, that trip cancellation portion of travel insurance can save you if you later need to cancel. So that could be for reasons like illness, injury, a hurricane at your home, a hurricane at your destination.
Ooh,
Lots of reasons are covered. And it gives you an out so you don't lose all your money. And I know a lot of us are, we've got pent up demand for our vacations, and maybe a lot of us are splurging. So if that splurge means a big non-refundable deposit, definitely consider the travel insurance.
okay. What kind of insurance do you think people should consider? What kind of insurance are we talking about today when it comes to traveling?
Well, within a travel insurance policy, you can really customize it to what you need. So the trip cancellation we just talked about is important, but also look at travel medical insurance, which is a common part of many travel plans. And I say this especially if you're leaving the US,
Mhm.
because your US health plan, like the one you might have through work, has limited or no coverage outside the US. So just be aware of that. So when you're going overseas and you have a medical emergency, you get sick, you break an ankle, then you would be on the hook for those medical expenses without travel insurance as a safety net.
We could be talking about a lot of money if something like that happens, and there goes that great trip.
A lot of money. And it's not just regular US employer based health plans, also Medicare
Mm.
doesn't pay for healthcare outside the US, with some really narrow exceptions that aren't usually going to apply to you. So, especially for seniors traveling, that travel medical insurance is really important to save you financially if something happens on your trip.
Wow. Do you think we as travelers have thought much in the past about this? Or do you feel like this is something that has become more of a part of the discussion for traveling, especially now and into the future?
I think awareness is growing, but maybe not enough because people may not realize the risks that they're taking. I know I went to Italy several years ago. It didn't even cross my mind that I was outside the country and that I really didn't have health insurance because I didn't have it as part of a travel insurance plan. And now in retrospect, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that I really dodged a bullet because
No kidding.
because I didn't need medical care on the trip. But I went there, oblivious, had no idea. But now, especially, if people know about that medical part, I think that by itself is a reason to take a look at a policy.
Now, it seems like often we'll get the documents for our trip, and it may just be a line or something on it that says, would you like the trip cancellation? And, whoop, no, if it costs extra. How much extra are we talking, though, when it comes to either one of these? And what could that mean to your bottom line if you did go with one? Because it sounds like it's something to be considered.
It is. And the insurance you're offered by, say, a cruise line is their
Yeah.
standard policy, and that might be absolutely fine for your needs. But by going to a specialized travel insurance agent, you can customize a policy and really match it to your concerns. So let's say we're looking at a $5,000 trip for a couple in their 60s. That's probably going to run about $270 to $400 to insure that $5,000 trip.
Really? Why do we think it's so much more expensive and in the end, boy, it can save you a lot of troubles? Where did we get caught up, or is it because of the word insurance in it maybe?
I think, people just don't like to pay for insurance, which I totally understand because you're paying for something that you really, we hope, don't interact with that much. So it moves to the back burner.
Yes.
But, especially for a trip where anything could go wrong, even before you leave, things can go wrong, then that can be your backup.
And it sounds like it would do a really good job of helping you plan your trip and then feeling, I have peace of mind now going into this trip. But if you are booking, and I guess if we're looking ahead now to this year and maybe even next year, what should people be thinking about and when do they need to put the travel insurance part into their plans?
The best thing to do is to plan your insurance right along with your trip because ideally you'll buy that travel insurance very soon after you make your first trip deposit. And this is key because if you wait, you can lose out on some really valuable benefits. One of which is being able to being able to waive a pre-existing exclusion in the policy.
Mm,
So if you don't buy it within, say, 1 to 2 weeks, different companies have different deadlines, then they can exclude your pre-existing conditions from your coverage. So if you go on your trip and you have a flare-up of something, you'll be stuck. But you can get that exclusion waived if you buy it right away. Another thing you can lock in is called cancel for any reason coverage. And you can imagine it's just like the name sounds. So, with regular trip cancellation, which is great, covers a lot of things, but only the reasons that are listed in the policy, like illness and injury. If you add this cancel for any reason coverage, any reason you like, you can cancel and get partial reimbursement. So maybe you just developed a fear of traveling, or you just don't want to go, or it's the season premiere of Bridgerton and you're staying home. It could be anything at
right,
all.
right. Well, and in this, I hate to say, in this world now, that sounds like that's pretty smart, to
Well,
be able to have that and have that covered and know I've got this trip. I'm looking forward to it. But if something crazy happens, I'll be okay.
right. And there are, of course, with anything awesome in insurance, there are some trade-offs. So with cancel for any reason, you do have to buy it usually within 2 or 3 weeks. So keep that in
Mhm.
mind. Another reason to buy it shortly after your trip deposit. And it won't reimburse you 100% of what you lose, but either 50% or 75, depending on the plan. And it will add about 40% to your travel insurance costs. If you have a base policy of, let's say, $400, anticipate another 40% cancel for any reason. It might turn off some people for that added cost, but for others, just having peace of mind that, no matter what happens, I can get out of this. It works for a lot of people. And especially during the pandemic, for people who have been traveling and have purchased travel insurance, definitely purchases of cancel for any reason have gone up. And
Oh,
you can see why with the uncertainty of travel in the last year.
right. Any other things we should be thinking about as we really are getting excited to travel again, both this year and I'm sure it's going to build up to next year? What should we be thinking about?
Well, also that buying travel insurance right away means your coverage starts right away. So
Oh,
even if you're planning a year out, 2 years out, which some people are,
mhm.
cruises in 2023 are selling out. So people are planning ahead for sure, but you lock in that coverage right away. So if anything happens between now and that trip, like a serious injury, you've got your coverage. So instead of waiting to last minute, something could happen before you buy the plan, and then you don't have the coverage.
Oh, that's a great tip. Okay. Good thing to remember. My goodness. Is there anything we're missing at this point? Anything that I didn't ask you? Because there's a lot to this travel insurance, but yet you have broken it down so easy for us, and I appreciate that.
Well, there are a lot of coverage types we haven't talked about, but work with a travel agent, tell them what your concerns are, and they can really match the coverage to your concerns. Like there's baggage loss if your bag never makes it, or baggage delay if it's just delayed for, say, 6 hours. But what are you going to do? Maybe you need to buy clothes during that time.
Hmm.
You need to buy toiletries. So you can get reimbursed for that through all the different travel insurance types there are.
Wow. Amy Denise, you are terrific at your job. My goodness, Chief Insurance Analyst with Forbes Advisor. One takeaway for everybody, what should they consider moving forward? And again, I'm excited to travel. I'm sure you are too. But again, thinking about insurance, what's the biggest thing for people to think about?
It's good just to have awareness that travel insurance is out there if you want it, and also to have awareness of what could happen on your trip if you don't have it.
That's a reality check right there. And that's okay. Oh my gosh, thank you for talking with us about this very important topic today. And again, Amy Denise, our guest, she is the Chief Insurance Analyst with Forbes Advisor. Amy, thank you so much and happy travels to you.
Thank you. Great to talk to you.
Yes, I'm Terry Barr, and thank you for listening to our Pennywise podcast.